All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Team Kitchen Fable video. I am joined by Steven and Chad, and today we're going to be talking about generic Majestics and kind of their long-term value in the game of Flesh and Blood. So we're going to be using a tier list format, but this isn't necessarily to say one is better than the other. It's more so as like a graphic organizer for us to explain, which generic Majestics you can expect to get the most use out of. So we've got always relevant for an archetype. So that one's going to be pretty simple. It's like always good for aggro or always good for control, and we'll mention it when we do that. We've got depends on meta, so good into certain matchups, good when certain things are prevalent in the meta. Rarely relevant, it's going to be those things that we just don't expect to see very often, or they have been relevant, but things like that. And then unlikely to be relevant is something that we think has never been relevant and will likely never be relevant, and we'll try to give our reasoning for why we think that card wouldn't exist in any kind of meta. Bobble tier is just for fun, and I'm going to start us off by putting these fableds in because I use them as placeholders, and this tier list maker won't let me delete images, so we're just going to go with that.
And they have the bobble kind of look, they're circular-ish in a sense, so that's why they're added to the tier.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna, Steven, why don't you go ahead and tell us, where do you think Art of War fits on this list?
Yeah, we were talking about it before, and yeah, Art of War is kind of the always relevant for archetype kind of tier. It's kind of a great aggro extender, and it just helps hit breakpoint numbers. We've seen it do great things in Chain, obviously, because it works with the Banish Zone, but it also has been doing some really good things in Fi. And Fi already makes a gigantic combat chain, so giving +1. If Art of War gives like a +6 and it's a 1 for 6, that's insane value.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been played in some well-performing Prism builds, and those are the ones that typically want to be attacking with Heralds constantly, so I think that's a good place for Art of War. And the perfect follow-up to something that's always relevant is now Bingo.
Yeah, very bingo.
Chad, where would you place Bingo?
It's probably in the rarely relevant section.
I agree.
Like, there might
not
be
even unlikely. Yeah. I feel it. I feel that, Chad. You keep going. I get it.
There might be a deck somewhere that can make proper use of the card, but I don't know. I'm just a little too. A 1 for 5 at face value, it's hard to say it's unlikely to be relevant completely.
And it blocks 3, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Come on.
Now that you say it, I'm thinking mid-range Katsu. Karachi Kachi Bingo, 2-card hand. It's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. That's exactly the kind of things you want to do. And any of the modes that it does are kind of nice.
For what is this one? Cash Out? This is Cash Out. Yeah,
that's Cash Out.
Cash Out, I think I'm going to go ahead and put in Bobble tier, but not to put disrespect on its name, but rather to say that this is a PvE card and we should just hang back on this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Chains of Eminence, this has been played. This has seen play before. I still think it's down here.
I don't want to put it all the way down there. I think I want to still put it in rarely relevant at the minimum. Like, there'll be some time. There's gonna be like a sick 9-of, or it's a 0. Wait, it's cost 0. You can make it stop equipment blocks with this. So now the Crown of Providence, hey, you want to try and here you go. You get -2 block with your crown, and you don't get to filter with it. Something like that. I don't know. I'm not hesitant to just give it a little bit of a shot.
I'm sure Jacob Kissel is sitting over there thinking like, well, if you just tracked your opponent's pitch stack, you could play Chains of Eminence and call out their Phantasm Popper when you're playing Dromai. Like, I know
so true.
Jacob's
watching
this
and there's the most interesting side of it is the defend piece, because there's like pick a card, any card, there's Frontline Scout, but if you're reaching into that territory to peek at a hand to shut off one card for a block, that's already Christmas Land territory.
True.
All right, we've got a team and kitchen table favorite. We've got Coax a Commotion.
True.
Personally, I place this in the rarely relevant to depends on meta. Like, I just don't think it's good card value, right? It is a 0 for 4. It has abilities that are beneficial, but I just don't see this ever being relevant again outside of Cheerios Ball Lightning Briar, where you just wanted to slap cards down and win games?
It's still somewhat played in the Channel Mount Heroic Briar because most of the time the effects are only going to be very relevant to you, especially during a Channel Mount Heroic turn where you drawing an extra card means an extra 7 damage most of the time, or having a Quicken token lets you set up another kind of 7 damage turn. And if you're playing against something like a Guardian where they're not going to have good use of the Quicken token as well, it's actually quite relevant. But it's pretty much the only deck that it's toyed with, and I believe it's not been in any like super top list. So, but it has done some work.
But more than that, this is the type of card that gets phased out over time as the card pool expands.
True.
Like, you're just going to get better options as time goes on, and that's why I just don't see it being.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think when it came out, depends on meta was the right spot, but it's drifting down to rarely relevant.
Yeah.
And I think, speaking of depends on meta, I think we have a certain card that has caused Command and Conquer to become or just talents in general, Crown of Seeds, Crown of Providence, Icelander, all of that, I think has effectively made Command and Conquer a depends on meta kind of card. It is if you are expecting to see a lot of Rangers in the field, a lot of maybe showstoppers, people that need their arsenal to set up, you're going to want that Command and Conquer. But I'm of the opinion that Command and Conquer is no longer... I mean, many people believe this in the past, but the meta never shook out to be a no Command and Conquer meta. We just haven't seen that yet, and I think we're about to see that.
It's quite interesting. I think right now it's actually 2/3 of the meta care about this card, like, because there's crown users and there's Icelander like you mentioned, but there's still Rangers out there, and it's a 6 power card. There's still Illusionist out there, so that's why I think the card has still value in the, at least right now, in the 2/3 meta kind of situation. And if we keep phasing out the players then that don't care about this card, then it'll be coming back, but maybe we'll in the future see it go away.
Yeah, I think the 6 attack block 3 is going to help keep it somewhat relevant in metas that it might not otherwise.
So I told you guys before the video that Crazy Brew was bobbled here, but I'm actually going to say no. I'm going to say it's unlikely to be relevant. And the reason is not Hopium. Well, it is Hopium, but the reason is, like, we don't know what the Alchemist class looks like. There's, like, for some crazy reason, an Alchemist class could make Crazy Brew highly useful. I mean, it gives you gives you an extra action point when you roll a 6, extra damage, extra resources, very strong. It's effectively, a time snap, strength potion, and energy pot all in one, which, by the way, that never clicked for me until right now in this video.
Oh, I see. Yes.
But yeah, I'm gonna say unlikely to be relevant because of the Alchemist class.
Sure. If there's ever also like a card that says if you would roll a die to call the number and that's the number it rolls, then maybe something silly like that could make it work.
All right, let's say.
But that's just in the future.
Let's say Erase Face. Chad, where's Erase Face at?
In my view, it goes in depends on meta as well. It's a little different than CNC because I feel like there's a broader base use case, like I mentioned with the block 3 and 6 side of CNC, that the Erase Face obviously does not have in being a 2-block. So you're incentivized to really be using it for the actual effect, and the effect really varies hero to hero.
Yeah, Erase Face is also just more likely to completely shut out an opponent than Command and Conquer.
Yeah, higher upside, but lower whiff side, if you will.
Exactly. Like, the heroes that Erase Face is really good against, it's exceptional against. Like, turning off Luminaris is just like I need to take my turn off to block this, because otherwise I'm not really going to have a turn anyways. So I think Erase Face is probably just going to be, especially as we, go to the rest of the regions and Flesh and Blood sets and see more talents come out. There's just a good chance that Erase Face is a more consistent pick for your deck.
Yeah. And then it's very interesting, actually. I want to mention one more thing. Right now in Uprising, the heroes kind of were caring about the strips of the colors of the card. And if we move forward into caring more about strips than the whatever written on the bottom, we care about the top part of the card instead of the bottom, then like Erase Face does become worse. So we'll see how the development of the the development team does about making cards. But if it cares about strips, then it's not going to be good. If it cares about the bottom, then we're going to be gaming with the race face.
That's actually a great point. Is I almost wonder if there could be something that directly interacts with color strips at some point, especially as, I mean, so far the Illusionist class is the class that cares the most. But obviously, Library of Solana tells us that no, technically, Light cared about yellow too. It's just Bolton never really got to see it in action.
Mutated Mass also gives Runeblade a reason to care.
It's true. It's true. Maybe Mutated Mass is gonna be a meta pick one day, and we're gonna have to counterplay it.
Bind them right now. Thanks.
So the last part of the OG Big Three. So you had Art of War, Command and Conquer, E-Strike. Is E-Strike? Where would you guys place E-Strike on the list?
That was a tough one because it kind of fell out of favor a lot, being a card that there's a lot of heroes right now that care about what's in your pitch zone or pitching and putting cards at the bottom of the deck, and it turns out that right now 0 for 5 or like the amount of cards you're spending, which is 2 cards, is becoming a real cost for the card. So I think, wow,
you can say it, Steven. It's rarely relevant.
Yeah. Maybe it is. Maybe right now it's rarely relevant. Let's make this bold call. Maybe it's just like rarely relevant right now, and it's just hard to say.
Hero that cares about you sinking cards to the bottom of your deck. E-Strike kind of fits with Coax in that it's like just one of those cards that gets phased out by better options being available, whether it be more generics, which is usually not the case, but more so more talent cards, more class cards, more ways of interacting with the game. E-Strike becomes less necessary.
Yeah, I think it's a card that's actually already dropped 2 slots. Like when it first came out, it was on the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we have Exude Confidence. I'm going to go ahead and place this one. I'm going to say rarely relevant.
Oh, no.
You think it depends on meta?
I think it depends on meta. I think if you...
I don't think so. I think there's other ways around what Exude presents, but I will accept it and say depends on meta.
It just has such a powerful effect against so many different things. It depends on meta because it really depends on what your opponent's trying to do, and you need a hero that can give it go again in some form or fashion and probably buff its attack as well. I know it needs a lot of things to get going, and there have been heroes that have been using it, like mostly the Runeblades, use it to great effect. But when they do, it's kind of backbreaking for the opponent. That's why, depending on meta, I think is the way that you want to put that card in.
I figured out why this list is so long. It looks really long for me. It's because I put everything in twice. So we're actually pretty far into the video. But let's go ahead and talk about Fire Breathing. I think Fire Breathing is just less exciting. Exude, it doesn't really have much utility. It costs 2 as a base to play. I think if Fire Breathing's base cost was 1, it would probably see a lot more play. But the fact that you have to spend 2 just to get it going and present the threat is not great. Also,
I think you should just bump it all the way down. I think it's unlikely to be relevant.
Yeah, I agree.
Not all the way down, but I think it's just right there because it requires a lot of resources to do what other cards do.
I do somewhat wonder when gold comes out what that looks like, and if there's a resource generating cycle to be had around that could make Fire Breathing an interesting combo card.
Yeah, but I mean it's like that's speculation, right? And
yeah,
like
which is why it's unlikely, but not bobble tier.
Yeah, an infinite resource combo. Let's go.
So I'm gonna put fog down all the way up here.
Yep, I'm down. Right now we're seeing some good builds. Today, June, whatever the heck, we're seeing some Prism builds make good use of it against the Runeblades who care about their non-attack actions a lot. I know it costs a lot. It does cost 3, but I believe it also blocks 3, so that's not that bad. So I don't know. It's just very dependent. Yeah.
It's also a generic time walk for something like a Bolton Sabers combo, right? To say like, okay, I can get one more turn where I'm not going to get Sabers is a pretty big deal, especially if it's telegraphed to you or anything like that. Or you could do actually is if you're running creepers, you can wait for them to charge. You can block the charge card, and then if you see the first Lumina come out, you creepers in the fog down, and their entire turn is just wrecked. I hope someone gets that playoff. That would be
That's so
pretty
funny.
sweet. So I guess yeah, if you're running Fog Down, block every single charge card, and then when you see the Courage break and the Lumina come down, you just pop that thing.
That's hilarious and very destructive.
Gorg Tome. I think like I would say always relevant for archetype. Like it's always a Runeblade card. Like it's just so good.
Any deck that wants the minimal number of cards possible, it's an automatic consideration.
It's good. It just also it's such a weird card in the sense that the more Gorg tomes that are out there, the kind of less. People get scared to play Gorg Tome if there's a lot of Gorg Tome users out there because the ability for your opponent, you could pop off, but also your opponent could pop off, and giving them that agency of having able to draw 2 cards where you only drew 1 during using the Gorg Tome is just a really scary prospect. So I've seen Gorg Tomes phase out in the Viserai meta. I was starting to take them out. Because it just was really scary. I just wanted to win on my turns and more than just trying to get lucky with like maybe they draw their Gorg Tome first. Like I didn't like that personally. So it's really weird.
Cody Fuller on the team. We were playing a Briar Mirror match, and he double drew off a Gorg Tome and then paid into a Sonata and hit like 3 times. And I was just like, I just scooped. I was like, that. You know what? That's it. I've had enough. I just got wrecked there. So Knick-Knack, I'm gonna put it straight into Bobble tier, and just because it's unlikely to be relevant in the constructed meta. In fact, I would say almost no amount of speculation outside of the Alchemist class potentially could get us there, and I'm gonna say it's more of a PvE card.
Yeah, PvE, and if there's like some high relevance of not even, or the merchant class or something, that actually becomes, because this is all about constructed, right? So if it becomes ever constructed playable, we're like getting a bunch of gold, silver, or copper in play, and then using this effect to like high effect. It costs 3 though, right? So it's like,
if it was a 0 cost, it would be pretty great actually.
I'm gonna stop thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop trying to think about how to make Knick-Knack.
Yeah.
So we've got Last Ditch Effort. And this one is one that I'm sad to see go. I long for the days of swinging Kodachis and hammers at one another until we run out of until we just have drones and last ditch efforts. Our three blue drones and our single last ditch effort hanging out in the bottom of the deck.
Boomer mentality.
Fat boomer
OG
moment.
Player. Yeah.
But because of the nature of like how LSS has been building talents and really discouraging, like they want you to cycle through your deck. It seems like they don't want to see it till the last 5 cards as often as we used to. I don't even know if it's that they don't want us to, but I think it's just the design space of the game is causing that to happen less. I don't know if you guys have a different opinion, but my personal take is it used to be kind of an always relevant for archetype in pre-Crucible of War, even Crucible of War, to already down to unlikely to be relevant.
It might be unlikely to be relevant again. The game, I don't want to use the word power creep because that's not it. It's like it's an extension of the game of the way it's going. It seems like they want it to be about the grind, but not too grindy because there is time limit. There's no incentive to like go to time as well. Those draws are not worth anything. So it's more, even then, I think the more likely scenario or for Last Ditch Effort is going to go, it's going to be in Blitz. And yeah, I think you just put it in the right spot.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could change that calculus is if there's an ability to like banish your deck at some point.
Chain number 2.
Okay, so Nourishing Emptiness. Chad, where do you place this? Right here,
I personally
it's a nice square, right?
I would put it in rarely relevant.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can find classes that it's mostly the wizards right now, right? If you put it in Iyslander or Kano, they're going to be popping it off no matter when. You can put in Levia if you like banish your graveyard. You can put it in
Kasai,
I don't know.
Blitz.
Kasai.
Put it in
The Warriors tier.
Dorothea gets to do it if she wants. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a neat effect. It's quite a neat effect. So that's why I'm gonna put in rarely relevant. Some classes will want to use it sometimes, and probably it's one of those cards where it's gonna be in some people's decks and they're gonna love it, and then other people are like, this has never worked for me in my life, so why would I want it in my deck? So that's why it's rarely relevant.
All right. Just for the record, my vote is always relevant for archetype, but I will respect the outnumber here. I do think that we like as we start to see more heroes in certain classes, or we just start to see how warriors shape up. As you know, Dorinthia gets a talent pool. She might end up being a light warrior. That's what she might be in. So she could have attack actions that are relevant. I hope Dorinthia has nothing to do with the charge mechanic. That would be great. Please and thank you, LSS. Patch the charge element out of the game, and then yeah. But Pursuit of Knowledge. This is Chad McKittrick and I.
Oh man,
Chad McKittrick and I know that our deck building is going wrong when we suggest Pursuit of Knowledge, because if you need Pursuit of Knowledge to make your deck good, you're probably doing something wrong. Like if you're like, oh, this doesn't work, but if I just had an extra card from Pursuit of Knowledge hitting, it would be
the
good.
Pursuit of Knowledge pummel is so good. Come on.
Hey, I've been seeing it like the showstopper builds right now. I mean, it's fine. But unfortunately, I like this would be very playable if it said if Pursuit of Knowledge hits. Unfortunately, it says if Pursuit of Knowledge hits a hero. So if you could use this against dragons, that would be incredibly strong. It would be unbelievably good mirror tech, in Dromai. But I just think that Pursuit of Knowledge, I won't dare knock it down to unlikely to be relevant, because it is a blue. It is a 4 damage breakpoint. It does cost 2, but you know, with hesitance, and people would be like, how dare you put this in the same relevancy as Nourishing, but I think technically I would say it's Pursuit is the same relevance as Chains of Eminence. No, same.
Yeah, I'm looking at it and I'm like, how are we putting Pursuit of Knowledge and then Lightning Strike in the same tier? Holy moly!
Well, again, this isn't like a tier list.
Oh,
this is
man.
this is us imagining the long term of the game and when cards could be useful. And right now we're seeing E-Strike trending down. Until we see some kind of hero that synergizes well with somehow bottoming cards on your deck. And Pursuit of Knowledge kind of just being in this limbo area of someone could make it good. And yeah, so I think it's like somewhere here. It's like somewhere between rarely relevant and unlikely to be relevant.
Leave it in rarely relevant. It's in my heart. Let's all our hearts here.
All right. Membrance. We've got Membrance right here. This is another one that's always been. It started out at the top. Started out as always being relevant. At the time, early Flesh and Blood, there was such a limited card pool. You know, the game was designed to really wear all the way down to your last few cards. Timing a Remembrance, getting your critical threats in, was really important, and we've kind of seen this come down. And I'm curious to hear where you place it, Steven.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I think actually you can put it all the way and depends on the meta. I think it's right now that's where it's at. I think it's yeah. That's it. Depend on the meta. Remembrance.
I'm proud to be your friend.
Yeah, I saw your approval there.
Yeah, I was like, yes, that's it. Also, I mean, I just wish it wasn't yellow, because anything that Prism doesn't get to have, I'm happy with.
Hell no, the Prism rent.
That's my line of Prism hate for the video, guys. I have Prism playing friends that always message me. They're like, dude, when are you gonna go a video without hating on Prism? And the answer is I'm not. Like, she'll be so far in Living Legends, and I will still bring up Prism hate once per video. I promise.
So true, so true.
Rouse the Ancients.
Wow. Who uses this? Just the Guardian, right? And just like,
hey, Showstopper's making a comeback.
I know. So it's like
Frightmare. You can just show Frightmare. Pitch Blue. You can play Iris Illusionist and pitch a blue and show Frightmare, and you've got Rouse the Ancients for 7 go again. Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we're putting Rouse in a situation in which, you know, these are the specific heroes that use it, I think we can. Okay, I would put it right now. I know you didn't ask. Put it all the way in depends on meta.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Thanks. Well, anybody else?
You're on the video, Steven. Of course I'm asking.
Sure. Chad, do you have anything to say about Rouse?
I'd say that's probably where it belongs based on how we've done the rest. It could go in always relevant for archetype, but it's a specific hero, and that's a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, hear me out, guys. Rusted Relic is
Yeah.
S tier PVE card.
Just
S
put it
tier.
in always relevant for an archetype. The archetype being PVE.
Yeah.
Just put it up there.
It's going
Perfect. All the way to the left. Perfect. Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
It's a 0 cost. It's a blue. It gives another thing of Arcane Barrier, freeing up an equipment slot. Like, come on. It has all the things that you want. If you have a lot of Go Again, which you should because you're playing the game, you just place it down at the end of a chain and boom, free.
All right. Snag.
You gotta watch out for Kyloria though; she can steal it.
Ooh.
Yeah, like this is your anti-burn them all tech, and Kyloria just steals it.
Yes, perfect. No. The PVE. Wait. If the PVE monster has a steal item thing, then we got to think about it. But
Yeah.
you probably just plop it in. It's fine.
Yeah. Snag. So Snag was like the funniest meme if you guys were around for Monarch meta. Snag was like the answer for all of like a week and a half to Riftbind Chain. And very quickly, everybody was like, "Wait a minute! There's way too much opportunity cost in running this card." It is a blue instant, cost 0, and it says attack action cards can't gain attack from their own effect or the effects of attack reactions this turn. This does not affect like being buffed by a V of the Vanguard that was played earlier in the turn. It doesn't block on its own. It has no other effect. It's not a 3 cost to swing Anathos with. It is really, really rough. I sold my playset at Vegas and made good money, and I'm very happy with that. And personally, I can't call it bobble tier because we've already seen it be relevant.
True.
But I just don't know. Like, we're not seeing people even attempt Snag into combo Fi, right? Like, no one's even thinking about that, right? Because first of all, Spreading Flames, Snag does not affect. Sure, it affects Spreading Flames itself if somehow that's the 4th attack, but it doesn't affect anything that it buffs. So Snag kind of misses the mark as far as that goes.
I would honestly still almost put it in bobble tier because I feel like it was made as a safety valve. And it has proven that if that safety valve is ever needed, they're going to have to reprint an upgraded version of that card.
True. I think it needs a card that has similar effect, but with different-ish text. Because right now, the things that it affects are way too narrow. It's way too silver bullet. And there's nothing... And it's not affecting... Right now, because of that, it's kind of not affecting anything. It did go through a rules change, which was interesting, where it now does it retroactively. So in the previous Monarch meta, you had to play it as your opponent was playing Riftbind. But now, if assuming that the rules were the same as back then, they could have played Riftbind, got on the buff, they could have played an attack reaction on it, bada bing, Snag gets all of it. So I don't know if that would have changed much in that situation, but I would put it at least in unlikely to be relevant, but we can leave it there if it's 2-1.
All right, we've got 2 left. I was debating, but we gotta do Toma Findall last, just because it's the OG.
What about that all you got? It's not in there, right?
Oh, we haven't done that all you got. Oh yeah,
No.
Okay, we're doing that one. Boom. It is like so far in between these 2 tiers of like, assuming you could technically always build a mid-range Katsu list, it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be good in the meta. But like 2 Kadachis, block Rosetta. I guess as long as Briar doesn't Living Legend, this card is always relevant. Because
Nah, it doesn't matter. Viscerai's also coming up, and like that,
Yeah,
that also affects that.
but
I think you
Rosetta
gotta
gets
put it.
banned. Rosetta
Yeah.
gets banned when Viscerai goes.
Briar gets
Or
banned.
Briar goes.
gets.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just kidding. It's dependent.
I think you have to put it. I think it goes all the way down. I mean,
What?
I
How far
just
down?
look, too rarely relevant because
Huh?
look. It's we can debate on this a little bit. It's right now seeing the viability of the card at this time. I've not seen it do good enough things. If it's not relevant now, like what needs, and when there's like a bunch of 2 attack things, or it's not getting sort of played right now, what else does the meta need to be for the card to be useful? Like, I think it needs a lot of things to revolve for this card to do something. I don't know. Yeah, that's where I'm putting it.
I accept your competitive analysis, and I anything I say at this point will just be memes, and that's not what this video is for. So,
You know
um,
what? I'll let you take over Vipebox. You got. I think you got
look,
this.
in my heart, it's up here. I love the artwork. I just want the spider to be our alchemist class, but it's here.
Yeah.
It's
The spider, by the way, being the character on the art.
Look, and yes, comment section, I know you're gonna say, but you can play Vipox and Benji. I don't care. I don't play Blitz. But also, and not to roast Blitz, well, to roast Blitz, but also not to roast Blitz. It's not that's not a good enough use case in my opinion. And even in the Benji event, it's not it's still not consistent enough. It's a 0-for-1 go again, and it has to hit to take life equal to the cards in your opponent's hand.
It doesn't even have go again. By the way.
That's what. I meant to say no go again. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I did mean to say it doesn't even have go again. And unless we get some kind of like assassin class where you can attack people on their turn, and they can't block it, or like we have some kind of like unblockable ability, whatever, like that is better than Benji's in Classic Constructed, I'm gonna say no Vipox.
No Vipebox.
Yeah,
Bye Vipebox.
No argument from me.
And the last card, the OG,
Certainly not the least.
Tome of Findall. Where do you guys put it?
Wow. Tome of Findall. I think. So let's talk about it a little bit. What's wrong with it right now? Because it's not seeing a lot of play. And is it because maybe it's too slow? It doesn't have to go again. It needs a few things to make it work. What classes has historically used it very well? The Guardians that have the boots to really give it go again, to actually make use of the life gain and the cards at the same time.
Rune Blades, Creepers.
Yep, Creepers makes it relevant. Dash uses it on high octane turns, always has. Personally, I think Tome of Findall is anyone relevant. Who can gain action points at will and likes to have pop off turns. I mean, you can play this. Unfortunately, we're not seeing Lightning Lexis happening, but or
Lightning Briars.
Channel Thunderstep, guys.
Channel Thunderstep.
Channel Thunderstep Tri-Shot. Put in your Lexi build. It's a good time. But Tome of Findall, I think, is just relevant to that type of deck that we just spoke about, and so it is elevated up there. The little library imp or whatever is just great artwork. It makes it feel like all right, well, this isn't an artwork video, but it makes it feel like Rathe is like a real magical place and whatever. So this is like an OG
yeah, good job on that.
And competitively, it is always going to be relevant to heroes that like action points, that like to not block as much and maybe need that life gain to swing the game. And certainly the Rune Blades that can now just play it for basically whenever they want. So
true. Creeper.
Well, anyways, thank you guys. If you are still watching, we appreciate it. Please make sure to like and subscribe to this video. It really helps us. We're growing the team. We're growing our reach. And if you like what we're doing, we've got much more in-depth stuff, more synthesized things on our Patreon. You also get access to our Discord server where you can get games with the team, the rest of our patrons, and some of our friends as well who are also highly competitive in Flesh and Blood. So if you like that kind of thing, please subscribe to our Patreon and support the team. And yeah, that's it. We will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.
Peace.